There isn't a God.
Nope, definitely not.
It's still opening.
Probably form a cult in jail already. A little psycho.
I mean, if there was a God, Prince Andrew would still be the Duke of York.
Ah.
Apparently William's behind all that, you know.
Bill.
Yeah, he's told his dad to sack
Just
him.
because he's not woke.
Indeed.
Well, I suppose.
Okay, we're live, folks. We are live.
Good evening and welcome to the After Hours show. This is Joe in Norway. I'll be your cook this evening, and I'm joined by Ann Lee, a retired college professor and a community member at the Daily Kos. They're a member of the National Council of Independent Scholars and is a contributor to the book, The Political Economy of Art, Making the Nation of Culture. Evening, Ann.
Hey there.
Oh,
What's for supper? Looks like more mushrooms.
Something special. Oh, I hope Anna showed up eventually. I promise this will be the last mushroom dish I make in a long while. we have the Hidnum Rapandum making another appearance this evening. The glorious hedgehog mushroom. They're supposed to get bitter the bigger they get, but I haven't quite noticed. But we had our first snow the other day, quite dramatic. But we went up into the mountains behind the farm, and we picked the last bit of mushrooms there. We've got all of our rapandum. We've got some golden chanterelle, and more of the golden trumpets. I mean, look at how wonderful the design on these is that the Lord doth giveth. So practical. The rain goes into the tube and down into the main body. Brilliant.
Nice.
This is I believe is going to be our last trawl. We're supposed to get mushrooms up until mid-November, but if the snow's already hit, oh lordy.
Yeah.
But
All that
anyways, this being a purely vegetarian cooking politics stream, I don't touch on the more traditional Norwegian. I don't touch on hardly any Norwegian dishes because they basically mostly have animal some amount of animal products in them. But I think what we can do is make a sort of non-traditional traditional raspabolle or kumla or kompa or potato ball or what's the other word? Uh, uh, some other funny name for it. It's basically Norwegian dumplings or a kind of very earthy gnocchi. You could think of it as. It's composed of potato, little cooked potato, and barley flour. But it's a hardy northern climate up here, so barley is quite popular. So we've got barley flour. It makes about 200 grams, similar to the Italian gnocchi. You got 300 grams of cooked potato, 700 grams of raw potato, 200, 180 to 200 grams of flour. And then what you normally do is you would make dumplings out of these. You'd fill them with some piece of uh, cooked meat, usually a salt cured meat that you've made a stock with. So we've got a stock here that we'll boil them in. Pompa, you can steam. Apparently, that's in the south. So it's a long country. There's all different kind of variations in each of the different valleys or whatnot, regions. We're gonna boil them. So what you normally do is you after you make the dough, put it in the palm of your hand, and you put a chunk of meat in the middle and close it up, and then it's a nice
Yum.
little surprise while you're eating. But what I've done, I've cut the stems of the hedgehogs and fried those up so they
Hmm.
look a bit nice.
Hmm.
So I think
Meaty.
that'll work. We'll give it. They're really meaty, and we'll put those in the middle. And then what you again traditionally serve with kumla is steamed or pureed kohlrabi, ele, or rutabaga, or as Lane would say, swede, I believe. Um, you do that, and then you fry up bacon fat, and kind of lamb and Sweden sausage, like cured sausage. You cut that up, fry it in butter, basically. So you got crispy bacon, salami poured over these dumplings with steamed kohlrabi.
Hmm.
But
Yum.
what we're gonna do, since we don't have this animal erupt, we're gonna take our little hedgehogs, vegetarian hedgehog. Well, are they vegetarian?
I
We're
guess.
gonna fry up the hedgehogs in little bits and try to get those crispy, and try to mimic that a little bit. But what we do, you notice you got the spindles on the
Hmm.
thing. I've scraped them all off. So if you have time, you can scrape them off. You don't have to, but better than having a little sawdust in your mushrooms. So it'll look a little cleaner with these all cleaned off. You can see scrape scrape clean. So we'll fry up some of these in little bits. But it's probably going to take me a little while, so you can please take your sweet time telling us all the positive uh, things,
Oh,
peace
Jesus.
reigning across the world in several places. I
We're so,
assume.
we're so screwed. It's ridiculous. We were just talking about how George Santos had his sentence commuted. George Santos
Brilliant.
was supposed to be in jail for or in prison for 7 years and for fraud. I mean, he really was a fraudster. He was, stealing people's credit cards and doing all kinds of other um, nefarious things. Pretty much Donald Trump, except at a very small scale. And he
I thought that
deserved.
was more of a kind of creative entrepreneurialism he was
Well,
embracing.
the thing is, he just lied up a storm. He made up all these stories about stuff, and he got caught, just being, well, a little bit nuts. And so whatever, he got kicked out of Congress and sentenced to jail. And so Trump And and this is just symptomatic of a whole thing that's happening this weekend. I mean, or the past couple of weeks, and that is Trump is just throwing up anything that will get in the way of the Epstein vote. I
Mm.
interpret it as any stupid thing that's going on now, just like commuting Santos's sentence is essentially meant to distract us from the Epstein stuff, and
Uh,
it
so you think the bombing of the boats, the little small boats, is just like diversionary tactics, and
yeah.
things get really bad, he's saving a whole full-scale war for in his back pocket there.
Well, I think there's going to be an invasion, and if I were going to make any predictions, it wouldn't be invading Venezuela directly. It would be
Mm,
actually taking over, invading Guyana, which is next
mm,
door, and then trying to stage a coup.
mm.
Anyway, that's just my horrible military thinking. Uh,
Guyana, is that Exxon's protectorate?
uh, I think it has several oil companies that
Mm,
work, but
mm,
the problem in Venezuela is that it's mainly Russian oil. I mean, Citgo is the primary deal. A Russian oil is kind of, aside from Citgo, um, it's got a significant Russian control, and I think there are offshore drilling platforms, and that could become crazy too. But we're up to what, six? Uh, oh, I and Trump said something, and I'm sure it's disinformation because he doesn't want to prove it. He said that one of these explosions was of a submersible, and there's no evidence of that. But he's really emphasizing the drug angle. So it was a
mm.
one of those drug submarines. It kind of
Yeah.
sits below the waterline, and they're quite sophisticated actually.
Mhm.
They're just not fully submersible, and they can haul a fair amount of drugs. But the fact is, he claims that they got one of those, and there's no proof of that either. So it's all how shall I say it, bullpucky at the present moment. Oh, I mean, weird stuff has been happening every day. The what's her name? The press secretary has declared that anybody who's at the demonstration is a communist or whatever, or members of Antifa, and it's just they're just saying stupid stuff. Stupid stuff is
It's
happening
so
all over the
insane.
place. And a part of it is in advance of the No Kings demonstration. And I think Trump really wanted to sort of suppress the attendance. And that's why this week he declared, or Hegseth declared, that they were going to launch missiles off the shore onto Camp Pendleton and then shut down Interstate 5, which is the major highway on the coast between San Diego and Los Angeles. It goes up through Orange County, but the fact is, there's not. Pendleton is kind of this big kind of wart that sits there in the middle of the freeway, and so and it's very unusual that they would launch things from the sea to the land anyway. So I think it's all just made up stuff. I mean, they claim that it's the 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps, and that's what they're celebrating, and that's just a lot of malarkey as well. So anyway, missiles over the I-5 freeway in Southern California. Um, there's been some rumor that there will be roving gangs of right-wingers who are going to try and make trouble. We'll see. It's a little chatter, not very much. I mean, I think everyone else, the people who have organized the No Kings March, have been really emphasizing how much is supposed to be nonviolent and peaceful, and I think it will be, but I think there will be attempts to mess with it, and so we'll see a couple of those things tomorrow, I would assert.
Agent provocateur.
Agent provocateur, yeah, indeed. I mean, I think that that's going to happen. God, it's been a week of stupid stuff. I mean, uh, Zelensky was at the White House today, and Trump just lied through his teeth about all kinds of crap. Essentially, I'm switching to Ukraine fairly quickly because we can get away from that fairly quickly. The most
Oh,
important
please,
thing was
please take your time. I've just got the one potato done here. Two
one
potatoes.
potato, two potatoes.
Slow down,
Anyway,
slow down. These take 20 minutes to cook, and I got things to fry, and we could
places to
just go on
places.
Louisiana.
Well, I'll just yammer on here. Anyway, Zelensky was at the White House today. He was wearing a jacket, so he wasn't wearing a shirt, just a T-shirt or something, which is what they hopped on him for at that other time. So he was actually better dressed, whatever the hell that means. And stupid stuff happened. Trump talked to Putin last night and essentially got his marching orders for today. Trump threatened to, oh, well, he says that he told Putin, well, you don't really want me to send thousands of Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, do you? Essentially, he was trying to get Putin to tell him what to do. And so I don't think very many Tomahawk missiles will go. There are 4,500 some odd Tomahawk missiles in the U.S. inventory at the present moment, and they could probably, give up 1,000 to, mess with the Russians, or even 500. That would be probably enough to actually, perhaps even win the war, because Tomahawks are more sophisticated. They've been around a long time. They're quite state of the art, and they're really accurate. And so, if the Ukrainians with Tomahawk missiles decided they would, hit something major, they can do it, like something in Moscow. So that's the thing that was one element there. But Trump, because he had talked to Putin last night, did his taco thing. He just chickened out, and so he said, well, I think we can do this without, blah blah blah. It's just a typical Trump accommodating Putin. So that was really weird too. And it was a weird meeting because it was in front of the entire cabinet. So it had a different kind of situational thing that was going on there. So he had all of his yes people there and had the right-wing press there asking idiotic questions. It's quite weird. And right after he got through with Zelensky, he went back to Florida to go play golf. So that's pretty much the presidential weekend.
Yeah, gotta have your priorities.
His priorities are straight, he just right to the, whatever, joint base, whatever, Andrews, and back off to Florida. So, or something, I don't know. Something happened. I think he was going to Mar-a-Lago, but last night, and I won't review much of it, but he did have I can't remember how much he made. I don't think they've announced the total yet, but it was a fundraiser for the ballroom that Trump is wants, is adding to the east side of the White House, and it is twice the size of the White House itself. And he had all these donors and corporate idiots there at the White House last night to donate money because the darn thing is going to cost $200 million. And the claim is that Trump isn't even putting any of his own money into it. Rather, he's going to try and get the entire amount done by private donations, much like the Qatari Air Force thing, which was another part at the beginning of the week, that the threat to have the Qataris have a permanent presence at an Air Force base in Idaho. and that was more disinformation. I think it's really just that they're going to base some jets there because it's a training thing. And as I've said before last week, they do training. It's not, we train a lot of folks from other countries, so it's not really a big deal. It's just that it made some people crazy. So there's that. Let's see. Other just strange things happened. He threatened a couple of days ago that the next major place to send troops was San Francisco, and there's very little justification to do that. I mean, first of all, it's really hard to do it because the city is so small and kind of tight. I mean, it's really difficult to get things done in that city with the military. And on the one hand, on the other hand, it could, because there are lots of folks who want to make trouble, street folks, it could be a whole thing similar to DC, where Trump, sent out the military to try and sweep away all the unhoused people on the streets. And so that may happen as well. But I don't think that they have the justification to do that. Although, I mean, I'm sure they figured out ways of arresting all kinds of people for absolutely no reason at all. And that's been pretty much the week of, there's, I think, a couple of hundred people now who are still disappeared or behind bars or somewhere, who have been essentially scooped off. And in some cases, it's children separated from families. There's a lot of horrible little stories out there. So that's happening. And aside, as I said, I think that there's fear of, getting the 218 votes to discharge the discharge petition that will release, or that will request the DOJ to release the Epstein files, and that will come. If it comes, when it comes, I think will be next week, Tuesday or something. So that's a big day. If it really happens. So far, Moses Johnson, or Grinder Johnson, has been delaying any kind of process of swearing in the last or the latest member of Congress. And it's just embarrassing. I think it just keeps embarrassing. And of course, there was a parapraxis event last night or night before last with Mike Johnson, the speaker. He made what is a parapraxis mistake. That is, he essentially said something about, made a remark about Antifa, and essentially came out on the way he said it was that he was on the side of the Nazis. So that was a real interesting little oral mistake. Let's see what else.
He was cognizant of that.
No, he wasn't. I mean, he just sort of cranked that out, and I don't think he realized that he made that error. Obviously people have pointed it out since then, but it was pretty weird that, he sort of had a Freudian slip, as they say, and came in on the side of violence. So it was pretty bizarre. And generally, the disinformation that's being thrown out there is that anybody who shows up for the No Kings March rallies and marches, which they're expecting to be as big or bigger than the one in July, the No Kings #1. This is No Kings #2, and there are 500 more sites that are scheduled to have some sort of event. Now, that's not necessarily a lot more people, but it could be. Weather in this part of the country is supposed to be pretty good, so maybe a lot of people are going to show up. And good fall weather is coming, and slightly on the warm side, so that'll be interesting. But as I said, there's an incredible amount of Republican brouhaha saying, well, they're all terrorists or criminals, or there'll be violence. Or like Tom Holman wants to divert attention from his $50,000 a bribe, which they've been giving him heat on because they ask him every time now, did you or did you not keep the $50,000 that was given to you in cash in a bag from the FBI? Because no one's answering that question yet. Did you keep it? Did you declare it on your taxes? Anyway, Tom Holman said, everybody who goes to one of these things is a traitor, right? So whatever. Stuff's happening. And of course, Holman likes threatening violence. So, we're not going to be held responsible. People are going to get hurt, blah, blah, blah. Because there are a lot of tough guys in the White House and et cetera. And so that's happening. There's other sub stories that are just incredibly stupid, and it'll be there. The whole week I've been fiddling around with different ways of thinking about Antifa, because Antifa doesn't really exist, but it was declared last week or week before last a domestic terror group, even though it's not really a group. It has no meetings, it has no membership, and it has presence in a couple of, sort of localized Antifa groups, but they exist on Twitter or something. But nobody organizes around Antifa. There's other things, indivisible, other things that are not Antifa, but that are there. That if they're really going to, repress, that's what. But it's all this sort of stuff where they just make up stuff, and Trump just continues to lie. He lies about the national debt. He lies about the revenues from the tariffs. He made all kinds of other stupid stuff relative to tariffs. Oh yes, he threatened to tariff people. Well, anyway, it was all about tariff threats to people, and even made a sort of tariff threat to Putin. But there are no tariffs on the Russians. There are pre-existing sanctions that the EU has and America does still have, but Trump is still in the tank for Putin. So that's pretty much all that was happening. As I said, that would have been an interesting thing to have recordings of the phone call that he had with Putin yesterday, considering that essentially he chickened out on providing more military options. The reality, of course, is in the last year, the EU or NATO has picked up the slack, and so that's happening. Otherwise, to conclude on Ukrainian reporting, the Russians are attacking the Ukrainian energy supplies, the energy infrastructure, as well as they usually do, attack civilian infrastructure targets. They bombed a hospital a couple days ago. Fortunately, no one got killed. A couple of people got injured. Actually, it was a maternity hospital that they bombed. And, it's just, it's not like they made a mistake. They intended to do that. That's all they do is civilian targets, whereas the Ukrainians, all they attack are military targets. And so there's a clear difference between who's on the side of quote unquote humanity and who's not, in terms of intentions. Anyway, I think.
Before you go on, so
go
we
ahead.
got all the potato balls made. So they usually take about. What's that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So I got all the balls made with the little
Oh,
little mushroom present on the inside, and
cool.
you can boil these for about 45 minutes until they'll float on the top. Since we're short on time and we've got these fancy pants pressure cookers,
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna try the pressure cooker at the risk of them blowing apart or getting too dense. When you can do this in the pressure cooker, it will definitely cut down the cooking time to a third, but it'll the
Blow them up.
pressure will expand them, so they should get more fluffy inside if you time it correctly. If you go too far, then they'll compress down, and the pressure will then turn them into
Soup. You'll have soup or something.
or a very dense material that you'll have trouble passing, as if this wasn't a vegetarian one version.
You'll have trouble passing it. Yeah, right. Well, there you go. Oh, man. It's been a busy week. They're going to weaponize the IRS. There's a whole bunch of those kind of elements. They're going to finally put in a person in the IRS who's going to do vindictive things with the IRS. They're going to do exactly what they blame the Democrats for doing during the Obama era, and which they did with which didn't happen, but they love talking about as if it happened, and it didn't. To weaponize the IRS, but that's happening.
What does that actually mean? To
Well,
weaponize?
audits. They're going to single out people. Part of this was the whole business with
Even
declaring,
with the understaffing, or
even with
they
the understaffing, and this is so insane because they've obviously cut back IRS folks. They were supposed to add a bunch. I think they got rid of 5,000 or something.
so
They
they're going after the big corporates then, I assume. The big whales.
No, they're going after corporate ones that supposedly support Antifa.
Oh yes, I
They
forgot about
identified
that.
5 different things. I think one of it's a philanthropic organization, and of course, George Soros is, whatever. Uh, it's just idiots. Scotty Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, actually worked for Soros before. So, it is this usual kind of creating some sort of something for nothing. I didn't hear any more about the alternative No Kings rally. They didn't want to the GOP didn't want to throw much money at it, so I don't think that's going to happen. Let's see. Oh, yes. Last night there was on the more local front, there was the first of 2 debates with the candidates for mayor of New York. And, it hasn't been covered nationally as much as it should be. But Mamdani probably is stood pat. In other words, he didn't lose. And Cuomo probably didn't get anywhere. And in fact, Curtis Sliwa decided rather than attack Zoran, he attacked Cuomo. So that, Cuomo didn't get whatever he thought he was going to get. Um, and so pretty much a draw, if anything. And since Zoran is leading, that it shouldn't be any difference. Although we'll see in the second debate, we'll probably tell the tale, which I think is next week or something, whatever. So that's coming up. That was an interesting thing.
No declarations of allegiance or loyalty. He's not going to Israel or anything like that, like the last debate.
No. There was, well, they were trying to nail Zoran about being anti-Semitic and blah blah blah. It's all the same talking points. It essentially didn't really work because Cuomo has all this baggage, namely, sexual harassment, and he looks old. I think that's probably the whole contrast between old guys and young guys is sort of there, and I think that's going to happen. And I think the guy's not a communist, as Trump has claimed that Zoran is a communist. So, but you see, Trump doesn't even know what a communist is. So that it's just, and no one has asked him. I mean, I want a member of the press to ask him, and no one's asked him. What is the communist? What makes him a communist? Now he's sort of a socialist. I think that you could sort of say that, but he's kind of doing essentially what Scandinavian socialists do. He's trying to improve the social safety net, and he's trying to socialize certain food outlets in food deserts and stuff like that. It's pretty normal and actually quite attractive ideas that will get people to the polls. So that's happening. So that's the big election, I think, that's coming up. And of course, Trump is making these sort of collateral threats as though he could suspend money from New York, and he has no right to do that. He has no way to actually do that. But of course, Trump just makes all this noise, and some people actually believe him, which is really sad. But he just says whatever the hell comes into his brain, and he's just been lying like hell all week. I mean, I don't think he said anything true all week, which is really weird. And he made another geographic mistake. So he before he was saying that he solved the war between Armenia and Cambodia. So yesterday, he declared that he solved the war between Iran and Pakistan, claiming that they were both nuclear powers. And he just went on this little rationalization rant, which of course was wrong because he said Iran as opposed to India. And I mean, the press, I think, just let him go on yammering like that. And pretty sad, actually, because it's kind of normal for Trump to misidentify things. But he should have paid attention to the fact that he got the Armenia Cambodia thing wrong twice, and somehow it just hasn't stuck in his little brain that that's what's happening. So that happened. But yes, of course, prisoners, hostages were released this past week. That was important in Israel. Israeli hostages came home. Trump declared everlasting peace, and then the next day threatened Hamas with, "We're going to kill you all if you screw around." So much for peace. It's just the weirdest thing. And I think his expectations were, as I mentioned before last week, is that, this was the whole Israel Gaza thing was meant to essentially get that Nobel Peace Prize, which he didn't get. But, it's just the weirdest thing. And of course, it's obviously hooked up with the possibility that there will be some kind of military action relative to Venezuela. Now, what that's going to look like, there are several articles that have outlined the options. One of the options is to seize the presidential palace, surround it. That's what the Marine and amphibious force is doing in the Caribbean when it's not blowing up small boats. It's sitting there waiting for the word to attack, Venezuela. That's probably the way they want to do it, since since they've tried it twice now. They've tried a coup twice and have failed both times. That's one way to do it. The other way, of course, is to have a complete amphibious landing, but they really don't have the numbers for that. And with all due respect, Venezuela has a moderately sizable army. They don't use it for anything, but I think they could easily defend themselves, or at least make a mess of things. So there's that. And of course, there was saber rattling this week. 3 B-52s flew about 100 miles. It did a training exercise 100 miles off of the Venezuelan coast. It wasn't really threatening, but obviously it was a little, showing the flag stupidity. So that happened. I assume that more boats are going to get blown up, so that's going to happen. And there's still a lot of noise that is talking about how it's illegal. I don't know what kind of repercussions there are, but Trump is just doing whatever the hell he wants to do, and that's pretty much the difference between the second term and the first term. He just says whatever comes into his brain, and it gets all kind of weird when it comes out. And he has a whole bunch of folks around him who are willing to, nod their heads and say, "Yes, of course, master." It's very strange.
Oh, dear me. I just realized I forgot something.
Uh-oh. Oh no, capers.
Yes. Capers, the secret
Secret ingredient.
vegetarian anchovies.
Ah,
So the salty brininess of these things, they work really nice. You just mash them up, and then they kind of disintegrate like oil cured anchovies, and they add that burst of umami.
yes.
And I am pretty much the only one that likes these in the house. Throw those into the mushrooms. And I put a little verjuice in to get a little acid. Verjuice, the raw grape juice,
Yum.
all halal. It's like the middle-aged
Indeed.
condiment, or not condiment, what would you call it? Acid used in the middle-aged cooking.
Yes. Nice.
Almost there.
Let's see what else. No, every day people are being arrested for just looking like you don't belong in this country. And the odds are, um, and when you actually look at the numbers, they finally put out a list of numbers for the this past 6 months of the Operation Summer Heat, which ended on 20 September. I guess they got, and you don't know how they estimated it, because a lot of it wasn't due to anything additional that they were doing. It's just pretty normal ice activity, actually. Is, supposedly they got 20 tons of cocaine or drugs, and they really didn't find that. Um, they confiscated weapons. They arrested a couple thousand criminals, but it's nowhere near the numbers that Stephen Miller wants. And so it's generally a big failure, but they're still doing stuff. They brought a camera crew. There is a camera crew that accompanies the Chicago feds so that they have things that they can do propaganda about. And speaking of propaganda, Christy Noam did a propaganda piece that was supposed to be shown in every U.S. airport, blaming the Democrats for the the federal government shutdown, which is a violation, with all due respect, of the Hatch Act. And it whether anyone's going to be prosecuted for that is a whole nother thing. And then there's all kinds of other legal stuff that's going on. Some things get turned back. Some things look unfortunately promising. That the legal system, the worst that could come in the next month or two, perhaps or actually within the next month, is there's a case that's come before the Supreme Court that could eradicate essentially the effectiveness of the Voting Rights Act. So there's that. Um, Essentially, what the Republicans have always wanted is to eliminate anything that happened that Democrats did in the 1960s forward. So essentially, America will be back into the mid 1950s. That we'll have lost 70 years of something, because all of the the laws and rules will get turned over, because we've already done that with birth control or contraception with Dodd, and that It's what they want. It's Project 2025. And added to that with the shutdown, um, what's his name? Russell Vogt, who's the OMB head, is trying, and it's illegal to do it, but he's going to do it anyway. It's very typically Trumpian. He's going to try and fire or dismantle some federal jobs while and I think you can't do it, first of all. And then on the second hand, it's a violation of civil service rules. Um, it, it it's just amazing what's going on. Needless to say, there's a lot of temporary restraining orders being filed all over the country. I think they've stopped ICE, I think, for 14 days in California, even though Trump is obviously threatening to nationalize the California National Guard, which I suppose he could do. But I think there's, as I said, I think there's lawsuits ahead for that. And there's more creative ways to deal with it too. But weird stuff is going on. So the guy he's a San Franciscan supposedly, even though he lives in Hawaii. I can't remember, is Benetoff or Benikoff or whatever it is. He's the guy who
Benioff?
Yeah, he owns Time magazine. He was in favor of Trump bringing troops in or whatever, bringing the feds in, and he got a lot of heat for that. So much so that not unlike the military, one of his board members resigned yesterday because he's just embarrassed by that whole business. Similarly, the head of Southcon, I think the group that is in charge of the military operation that's off of Venezuela, and he happens to be black. He's he's a admiral, just resigned. There's another guy who's just a colonel, with all due respect, just resigned. And I think he's a bit of a liberal, so he's made sort of a stink about, the all the sort of quasi loyalty stuff that's been thrown at the military, Hegseth, etc. So there's that. I think that's enough for this week. All this is happening. I've summarized pretty much all the stupidity that's happened this week.
Well, there's
Yeah.
also Israel's lawyer is redefining cease and fire.
Oh, Jesus. It's just amazing to me.
And the fact that Hamas wasn't even present in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's just awful.
It's like the mandate period.
It's just it. I mean, the Israelis managed to kill at least 20 to 25 people a day. There's really been no ceasefire at all. They're only killing half as many as they were before. Let's put it that way.
And they're claiming that people are going into demilitarized zones.
Oh yes, and killing them just because
people are unable
marked.
to determine what is a no-go zone.
Right. Well, they keep changing it. They've always this whole Gaza thing. They keep changing the lines, and so it's pretty easy to knock someone off and sort of get away with it. So there's that. It's just awful. And of course, they restricted the number of aid trucks that could come in. I think they cut it in half yesterday. It's just all, and then there's the flotilla, that got sidelined, and then the Israelis brutalized a bunch of people. And we're hearing all these stories about Israeli jailers or the IDF, brutalizing people. It's so awful. So anyway, that's that. There's that part of the week. We're getting close to our scheduling time. Stuff's going to happen in about 45 minutes, and perhaps John is here to talk about Night Gallery. John?
Heyo. Yes, tonight on Night Gallery, we have, I guess this is considered a pretty strong episode of Night Gallery.
Cool.
Called Pickman's Model. It is based on a short story by H.G. Lovecraft.
Cool.
It stars Bradford Dillman,
Ooh,
Louise Sorrell, and Donald Moffat.
ooh,
So it's a good cast.
yes.
And yes, I think you'll enjoy it. Did you want me to talk about Sunday, or we have to go in order?
Oh no, let's just stay on schedule.
Order.
Let's stay
Order.
on
Order.
Hold on, hold on.
let's stay on schedule. So after Night Gallery, uh, Travis will present. I don't know if Travis wants to make any comments on it, but Poker Face is on tonight, which will be very exciting and interesting. Very interesting program. Last week's was quite a bit of a downer in some ways, but it was very interesting the way they put they took one or end sequence at the front of the episode, which was I thought that was pretty interesting. Quentin Tarantino sort of deal. Anyway, now Travis will not describe what's going on, but we've been promised that the schedule will reveal that somewhere around 10ish or 9:30ish, somewhere around there, we'll have that. Gee, that looks good, Joe.
Thank you.
Yum yum.
Hold on. I think the potato balls need to go in for a little bit longer, but that's essentially the dish.
Yum.
See, we've
And
got,
so those are fragments of mushroom on top.
yeah. So these are the hedgehog mushrooms that were seared,
yes. There we go.
and kohlrabi, boiled kohlrabi.
Nice. I'm not sure whether we have a thing on Saturday night.
We do. Susanna
oh.
has a film. I'm not sure if she's here or not.
No, Susanna's here.
Oh.
Please
Hi.
tell us.
Hi. Yes, Saturday night, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, Saturday Night Theater will present a very ghostly, mysterious episode opening on Halloween night. It is one of my very favorite episodes from an excellent British series called Inspector Lewis.
Oh,
And
yes.
the stars
Excellent.
are Kevin Whately, Lawrence. Lawrence, I know your last name, but I forgot. You're terrific in it. And Claire Holman. So I hope you can join me. It is a very highly rated episode from this wonderful series. Thanks.
Yes. Excellent.
And then on
Lawrence
Sunday,
Fox. Lawrence Fox, yes,
Oh.
is the bagman for Inspector Lewis. Anyway, Laurel is filling in my knowledge here.
so
Sorry.
after weekly marks on Sunday is a question mark. Adnan's struggle session number 5 is happening at the same time that Star Trek is happening.
Uh-oh.
Oh, right.
Oh, no.
So we need to discuss what we're going to do about that. But we always have breakout rooms.
Yeah. Well, we can,
When the room gets so when we get to too many too many in the room, we have to let some pressure off into the pressure room.
breakout rooms will make breakout rooms. Anyway, yes, at 2:00 Saturday and Sunday is weekly marks, and yes, we're still reading stuff on commodity and stuff on money from a varied sections of not only the Grundrisse but the economic and philosophical manuscript. So I think we're going to still do that. We finished up with a work this past week on subsumption, but anyway, so there's that. On Sunday, whenever it's going to happen, although let's actually talk about it now. I mean, when is struggle session going to happen on Sunday for Adnan? Will it
5
happen?
o'clock, same time as Star Trek
Oh,
is
at
scheduled.
5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Eastern
So
time.
it usually goes 90 minutes.
Okay. So I don't know, John, if you want to push ahead a little bit?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I can push it ahead to 6:30 if that works for
Mhm.
everyone.
Yeah.
Back.
uh,
No. From people. And I'm not sure, didn't. Well,
Well, we can
I'll s-
actually work this out relative to the audience. I mean, if we create a breakout room, people can listen either to the struggle session or to Star Trek. And John, do you want to tell us what's going to
Well,
be on?
Lord knows Lane doesn't want to miss. He doesn't want to fall asleep in the middle of a Star Trek. That would be-
Indeed.
I actually want to get some sleep.
he's got
So
his music after Star Trek.
exactly.
Oh, that's right.
So John, what's on Star Trek on Sunday?
Um, so it is an episode called The Survivors. I think it's quite good. It stars, guest stars John Anderson and Anne Haney. John Anderson's been in several original Twilight Zone episodes,
Hmm.
and he's a well-known character actor. Anne Haney was in an episode of, she's been in a lot of things as well, but we saw her in an episode of Columbo with um, Patrick McGowan,
Ah,
when Patrick McGowan was playing a political advisor, a lawyer and political advisor. Um, Yeah, and the premise of it is that the Enterprise comes upon a planet that once had a colony on it, um, but the entire planet has been devastated, save for one house and its two occupants. So there's a bit of
yes, it is a good
mystery.
episode. It is a good episode.
Hmm.
Um, no spoilers.
No
Um,
spoilers.
no spoilers. And Lane, what's going to come after? What music on Sunday night?
I'd like to thank you for doing it chronologically this week. I know you've gone to the effort, but I don't know what I'm playing. I might be. I think I'll stick with folk, but I'm going to
Okay.
have to pay a little homage to D'Angelo, who died this week.
Ah, yes.
Sort of the creator of neo soul, sort of one of the instigators. And he only had one like top quality album, but it was enough to sort of inspire a whole scene to take over the world with new soul.
Indeed.
So yeah. So, but other than that, I don't know. I'll just have to be winging it.
I don't know if anything else special is coming up this week. On Tuesday night, there is the third or fourth uh, episode class of Rashid Khalidi's course on Palestine, and that's been quite
Should,
interesting and
should be
important.
the last one, I believe.
Well, no, I think it's next to
Yeah.
the last one. I think, but maybe.
4 or 5. This will be the fourth one.
Yeah, I thought there were four, but it looked like there were
Hmm.
five. Anyway, whatever.
Well, okay.
It'll definitely be on this Tuesday. So there's that, among many other things. Dis and Dat spent last week, as I said, looking at subsumption and a bunch of other things. We're going to start a whole new text probably this coming week, um, among many other things. So I think we're about to the end of our schedule. And we're going to end
Oh,
pretty much at the same darn time. Uh, Let me close by um, saying we've also lost another member of our little group who left at a very
mhm.
early time, but passed away. We only discovered it kind of secondarily. Um, Rariki Hutchinson, who died far too young, and um, we miss him. We'd hoped that he would come back, and I have kept weekly marks going forever in his name. So, um,
If it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have ever cracked Capitol open ever. It's
Yeah,
still going in one ear, out the other, but
I keep plodding forward. A labor of something. And we miss him greatly. So we perhaps we should get together and remember
do a memorial.
all the folks that we have lost over the last year or so, and it's we'll do something. Maybe do some New Zealand thing or not. Anyway, we'll try and do better next week. Bye.